This channel's been getting tons of requests to use products that I've already owned for quite a while. Older products, if you will, instead of like first impressions of new products. Like yesterday's video, go check it out. It's actually a really, really good video. I too want to play around with products that I've had for a while now, because at the end of the day, if I still have them, it's because they're good. So I'm going to revisit a few items. I'm gonna shop my stash. I'm gonna bring you guys along with me. But what I wanna know, and I need you guys to chime on in the comment section below, if for the next shop my stash, you guys want to choose my products. There's one of two ways that we could do this. I can either do polls over on Instagram with photos over on the Insta story, since they're allowing me to place a photo, do a poll, and then you got, not even a poll, like the questions, and then you guys can just chime on in as to what products you see in the picture that you want me to use per category, whether it's like the foundation drawer, the concealer drawer, etc., etc. Or, which I think this would be kind of fun, once a month, I can let a subscriber choose the items that I use to create a makeup look. You know, we don't have this all figured out today, and that's okay, but let me know in the comment section, which one do you want? One subscriber a month to choose all of the products that I use on my face, or just do a poll and everyone can participate. But let's not delay this any further. Let's go shop my stash. Let's start off with a little bit of skincare. I'm gonna use the e.l.f. Holy Hydration Face Cream. This is gonna add a lot of moisture to the skin. Moving on to primers. I have a ton of primers. I need to get back to rotating, but I think I wanna use the Rare Beauty Illuminating Primer. As for foundation, I'm gonna grab the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless Foundation. I am in 8 Warm, because I can give you guys tips and tricks along the way in today's video. For concealer, I think I want to go with the Benefit Boing Cakeless Concealer. I'm using number 6. You guys know I like to go a little lighter under the eye. To set that concealer, I'm going to use the Hourglass Veil. It is the translucent setting powder. Now this is, I want to say this is a deluxe, but there's so much powder in this, I've barely gotten through it. So we're going to use this one. Today's bronzer is going to be Ofra's Americano, and look at the dent in that baby. I absolutely love it. This is like my hands down #1 bronzer by Ofra. Here is this insane blush drawer, and I did declutter this not that long ago. But here we have the Benefit Shelly and then Willa. This is my highlighter drawer. It is a mess, I know. I'm gonna go with Gerard Cosmetics Starlit Palette. Here is where I'm storing my eyeshadow palette. This is gonna be hard, but I'm gonna grab the Too Faced Sweet Peach palette. I have 2 mascara drawers. Some of these mascaras are expired, but I don't want to get rid of them. One of them being the Trestique Good Vibes mascara. This one is an oldie, but a goodie, but an annoying one. Here is my lash drawer. Oh, and I think I'm gonna go with these Temu lashes. For the brows, I'm gonna use a very different combo. I'm gonna use the Ka-Brow in number 6 to fill them in. And then Charlotte's Micro Precision Tinted Brow Gel. This one is in black brown. For my lips, I'm gonna rely on BK Beauty to do the job. I selected 2 shades. So I chose Acceptance and Inner Beauty. I recently just washed my tools, so I'm gonna grab a sponge really quickly. BK Beauty's Angie Hot and Flashy A507 for blush. BK Beauty's 107 for bronzer. They're 109 to blend out the concealer, and they're 108 to highlight. I have the full selection of product in front of me. Let's get closer and let's get into it. So we always have to start a look with hydration on the skin. I'm gonna go ahead and grab my little moisturizer. When you're using a foundation that looks dry or feels slightly drying on the skin, you really want to go in and hydrate the skin prior to your makeup application. Otherwise, it's going to look like a dry desert in certain areas. For me, it tends to be around here and then around the sides of my nose. So you really want to make sure that you're applying hydration. That said, this is going to depend on your skin type. I have a normal combo, so I'm applying a small amount everywhere, and then I'm focusing as much as possible without it being too much. Like, you'll know once you apply it, like the foundation, in the areas that tend to look crepey and cakey. Oily skin, apply a teeny tiny amount. Combo skin, a medium. And then if you have really, really dry skin, then you want to make sure you apply a good amount of moisturizer on the skin and or an oil, like a facial oil. Let it sit for about a minute. It doesn't have to be that long. Give yourself a second, take a sip of your coffee like I'm going to do right now. Give yourself at least a minute. let your skin soak it in, absorb it. The reason why I selected an illuminating primer is because I love for my skin to look healthy and luminous, not dewy, oily, greasy, nothing like that. Luminous. The foundation can make you look fairly matte. I go for matte looks sometimes, but when it comes to that foundation, sometimes it's a little too matte. So I did a pump and a half. I'm gonna first, see how it's illuminating? I'm gonna first apply it where I want the luminosity. So areas where I don't mind looking glowy. I'm avoiding this area here. I know you guys think I have the most perfect skin, and I really appreciate it because you guys are amazing. But the truth is, I have slightly enlarged pores here. So I avoid anything luminous in this area. Whatever's luminous is gonna attract the light. When the light hits it, it's going to look bigger. And then whatever's left, because you have enough, then at that point, I'll just I still avoid this area, apply the rest on the rest of the face. Remember the philosophy, less is more. Now for the foundation, there's one of two ways that you can do this. If you feel like, no, it's too heavy, it's too drying, which I heard that from you guys a lot, you can do one pump of the foundation and one pump of your favorite moisturizer. Mix it together. It's going to soften the effect on what it looks like on your skin because you're adding hydration to the foundation. I'm gonna do one full pump. I'm going to tap the foundation where I want her. Hopefully this foundation still matches me because it's been a minute. Here's the kicker. If you have dry skin, don't use a brush. Use a sponge. A sponge is going to be damp. The moisture is going to help blend this seamlessly and make your skin look freaking fantabulous, almost airbrushed. Remember, one pump is more than enough. This coverage is freaking insane. I mean, I've already blended it out. Look how intense this is. That was literally the one pump. If you have oily skin, do what I did, but buff it in with a buffing brush and you should be fine. If you have a combination, as long as you're taking these steps, you can use any tool you'd like. You know, it's slightly lighter than I am right now, but it's okay. I think we can make her work. And then I will pounce. And the reason why I like to pounce is because when you're blending, sometimes you get little streak marks, but you get little brush marks on your foundation. And if it's a foundation like this one, that once it sets with the brush marks, and then you have to go in with a damp sponge anyway to blend away those brush marks. So it's crazy to me to have to put, yes, less is more, but I feel like you should work smart, not hard. I don't like to work hard. I like to have a good time. And I do not want to have to use more than one tool to perfect a base. Like, I think a base should be the simplest thing ever. She's looking hydrated, luminous, not dry, not patchy. Look at this insane coverage, and that was one pump. A lot of people were saying that they were doing 2 to 3 pumps. That's part of the issue too. It's too much. This foundation is glamorous. Yes, it feels a little dry. It's glamorous and it's beautiful with just the smallest amount. I feel like I hit every single mark when it comes to like you guys' questions with that foundation. If you have additional questions, leave them down below and I'll try to answer them for you guys. I'm gonna move on to my concealer. Listen, this is actually a nice concealer. It has a pinky shift to it, which I'm okay with. I've just fallen in love with my Ofra one, so I kind of stick with that one. I will not get it on the center, but I'll kind of get it here, and then I'll add some on the chin. I've seen it all over social media. Anyone that's telling you that you're applying your concealer wrong because this is the way they do it because it works for them is lying to you. Their face shape is not everyone's face shape. I've said it before, I'm gonna say it again. No makeup is universal. No application technique is going to be universal. If you have a round face, then the V is gonna work for you to make it look less round and maybe give you more of that lift that we all want, you know? Like bronzer on me is not gonna be the same on someone that maybe has more cheeks than I do. People with hooded eyes may do what I'm doing, but may not be able to use the same brushes because of the fact that they have hooded eyes. Apply the makeup the way that it works for you. I personally will apply my concealer literally from beginning to end because A, I like that coverage, and B, I like to pull it all the way down in that V-like effect and then I pull it all the way back here. Not a lot of people do that, but it definitely provides a lift, makes you look way more awake. And I'm 37. I can use the coverage, mija. Like, I need that lift and I need that coverage. They need to stop telling us we're doing it wrong because we've been doing this for much longer than they have. Just saying. Oh my God. I was gonna use this for my concealer and I didn't. It's okay. I don't have to use it. I use my sponge. I'm gonna let it sit for maybe 10 seconds. In the meantime, I'm gonna tell you this. If you have a round face, you might wanna do the V. That's gonna help you create a lift and a shift on your face and make it look slightly longer. If you want to emphasize your cheekbones, you want to bring your concealer far down. You don't have to apply concealer all the way down. Just apply enough under the eye as a swoop. And then as you're blending, blend it down the way that I did, down here, and pull up, and that's going to make your cheekbones look way more prominent on your face. Let's go in with the Hourglass Setting Powder. I'm gonna tap as much off as possible. This powder happens to have a little bit of luminosity, like the smallest amount, like you could barely tell. But if you have wrinkles under your eyes, or fine lines, anything under the eye that you do not want to emphasize, you might want to skip on this powder. Use something else. Laura Mercier has a beautiful one that's nice and matte. Gerard Cosmetics has a beautiful one that's nice and matte as well. Ofra has a series in different shades that are gonna work for you. Remember, little shimmer particles, it's gonna capture the light at some point. Once again, less is more. So whenever you pick up powder, you want to remove excess. These powder puffs are freaking fantabulous because you can get into that inner corner to set that concealer so it will not start to crease. Any eye watering will get into that area and also make the creasing happen a lot faster. So you really want to make sure you get into that inner corner and bring it all the way out. A little bit of powder is gonna get the job done. If it looks cakey, dry, or like you're aging under the eye, it's either your concealer formula does not agree with your skin, that's okay, it happens, or you applied way too much powder. The job of the powder is to set the concealer so it doesn't shift on you and or crease. And I know there's several that are advertised as brightening powders, but applying extra powder is not gonna make it brighten. So get the shade that's gonna work for you. That's why I was saying Ofra, because Ofra has medium, light, they have their deep, they have an apricot, they have a pink one, they have a banana. They have options for you. The setting powder is going to give you that brightening effect that you want depending on the shade that you get. And you don't need a lot of it. Applying too much powder anywhere on your skin and or your under eye is definitely going to give you that crepey, dry effect on the skin that you don't want. And guys, winter is coming. Cold weather is coming. We want to avoid that at all costs because it's not sexy. All right, so far this is what we have going on. Don't mind the lips. You know what? I'm gonna apply a little bit of balm because that's not sexy. I'm over here, this is not sexy. They're dry as hell. Let's get into bronzer. The difference between bronzing and contouring is the shade and what it is that you're trying to do. Bronzing is basically giving yourself the effect as in you got a tan without actually getting sun. The bronzer that you use may have a yellow and or red finish undertone depending on what you select. I don't like red undertones. I go for more of the yellow undertone, which is going to be Americano. But a bronzer is going to give you that J-Lo kissed by the sun effect. I'm gonna do one side here on camera so you guys can see. And yes, Americano has a little bit of luminosity to it, but it's not unflattering and or intense. And I don't really do bronzers with shimmer in it. But this one, so subtle and it's so pretty and it complements my skin complexion. It's just giving me that kissed by the sun look. Contouring, which people also call sculpting, is when you're changing the look of your bone structure and or your face. And for that, you would use a powder and or cream, but with a grayer undertone. So a cool tone. Not yellow, not red. And if you're wondering what does she mean by that, here's the difference. This is cool tone. You can use this to sculpt and or contour your nose, your cheeks, your chin, your jawline, all of that, even your eyes. See how gray this is? There's no yellow, there's no red. This has a lot of yellow in it. So contouring and or sculpting is going to hide and or sink in certain areas of the face. So if I wanted to, I would apply that powder in this area and it would make me look way more chiseled. So this is what we're looking like on this side, and here nothing. Do you see the difference in dimension on one side of the face versus the other? Bronzer does a trick. You just have to get the right shade, and not everyone can pull off a red undertone. So I usually recommend people, if you've never tried a bronzer before, try to go with something yellow, because I feel like it's time that we work on the eyes. We're gonna go in with concealer on the lid. There's nothing wrong with applying concealer on the lid to prep the lid for eyeshadow. Should have taken out a primer, but it's time that we rotate things around. You just need a barrier between your lid and your eyeshadow. If you want a really, really good one, get the clean canvases. All right, I'm gonna go into Candied Peach. This smells like peach rings. I'm gonna tap out, and I'm gonna apply this on my crease. I wanted to point out to you guys, I get a lot of comments on, I have a hooded lid, that's not gonna work for me. What I'm doing, everyone can do with hooded lids. The problem is your tool. This brush fits into my crease perfectly because I don't have hooded lids. So how do you address that issue? You use brushes that are made specifically for people with smaller eye space. These are by BK Beauty. You guys know I absolutely love them. So look at the difference. This is a really big fluffy brush. These are tiny. So say that you wanted to do what I'm doing and you want to apply that peach shade in here. Do you see how tiny this is? It doesn't cover half of my crease because it's so tiny. But this is going to be perfect for you guys because it's not super big, and they have an even smaller one. So it's really going to get into those tight spots for you guys. So if you haven't checked out BK Beauty, they do have a collection of eye brushes specifically for people with hooded eyes. I'll link them down below for you guys. They tend to be a little pricier than, say, your Morphe, your little Sephora brushes and stuff like that. However, these are the most, even from my Luxie, out of every single brush brand I've tried, these are the most luxe ones I've tried. 100% worth every single penny. Now I'm gonna go into Tempting. I'm gonna dip that directly onto the crease. And we're gonna do some color building. So I'm not gonna worry about it looking messy in the moment or anything like that. I'm just trying to kind of place the shade where I want it. And if you have really tiny eyes, avoid going really dark on the inner corner because that's just gonna close them out even more. You wanna go brighter. With an eyeshadow brush, I'm gonna go into Caramelized. And then I'm gonna apply that all over the lid and go over Tempting. We wanna add a little bit of that shimmer effect on top of Tempting. Whatever's left, I will drag under the eye a little bit. Something else to avoid is liner on the waterline, especially a black one, something super deep. If you have really tiny eyes, that's just gonna make it look smaller. You actually wanna apply a lighter liner, like a nude or a pink, like a baby pink or white, to make your eyes look bigger. All right, so now we can really go in and perfect this. So with the same eyeshadow brush, I'm gonna go in little circular motions like this, and I'm gonna diffuse that edge. I'm gonna take my time and blend that out. I want it to look like you just went blue on it and it blew out like here. So it's gonna take a little bit, but you're just gonna kind of go in little circular motions like this. You want it to look smooth. Once it looks smooth enough, I'm gonna go in with the brush that we used that peachy shade on. Gonna kind of go back and forth. Diffuse a little more. We can move on to the rest of the product. We're gonna apply our mascara. And the thing about this mascara, right? This is so dumb. I hated this. I tried it a few times. It clipped me in the damn eye. It pinched my lid. It was a mess. So I feel like the wand is great. The formula is really nice, but it's so bulky and I don't even use this top part. So I just kind of put it away and it's annoying sometimes when I'm trying to get it out. Nonetheless, it's a really good mascara. This one's not old. I had a few backups. So I'm gonna apply one layer at the bottom, two at the top. I'm not gonna concentrate on the top too much to perfect it because we're gonna apply falsies anyway. Get as close to the base of my lash at the bottom. Smudge back and forth. It makes it look like we're applying liner when we're not. So instead of just combing the lash, I get really close to the base, I wiggle back and forth, and then I pull. Adds to that smoky effect on the eye. You see what difference it makes? Very good mascara. Now let's apply at the top. I would typically skip on lashes, but since we already took it out, we're gonna add like some accent lashes just to kind of ump up the look a little bit. But this mascara is good enough like on its own. Now when it comes to falsies, I love strips because you can multitask them. You can create accent lashes, as I'm gonna kind of do today, by snipping a good portion off of it, or you can apply the entire strip, but it definitely pumps up a look a little more than just eyeshadow, mascara, and a liner. I have a full video showing you tips and tricks on how to apply lashes. So if you still struggle with lash application, I highly recommend you go check it out. They're placed on, but they're not fully tucked in. I'm gonna give it a second to kind of get really, really tacky. I'm gonna take my setting powder, the Hourglass. I'm only gonna apply a smidge of that powder, which is why I went onto like the cap, because it just has residue. And I'm gonna focus that out here. It makes it look sharp and clean. And say that maybe the eyeshadow kind of went a little too far down. In order to use concealer and stuff like that, it could potentially break down what you already have going on. So applying a little bit of powder usually does the trick. And I'm gonna go in with my brow fairly quickly. I think that the brows can just be soft and simple because of how sultry the eyes are. So I'm just gonna kind of fill them in a smidge. When it comes to eyebrows, listen, I think it's different for everyone. No matter what, make sure you have an arch. Look really close into a mirror and just see where you have sparse areas and fill them in. Some of us have way more sparse areas than others, and that's fine. What I love about makeup is that you can fake the funk and give yourself the illusion that you have certain features that you don't have, as in full brows. That said, a rule of thumb, your eyebrows should end at an angle where the edge of your eye is. It should not meet all the way down here. It should not surpass it. It doesn't look natural. And the beginning of the brow should meet slightly at an angle to the inner corner of your eye. The beginning of the brow is usually a little feathered in because it never really has that much hair. Some people do, most people don't. So I go very lightweight with whatever's left on the brush itself of my brow, and I'll just kind of like feather that in gently. See, I just faked a brow. Girl, my brows don't look like that. And for this look today, because it's so sultry, I'm gonna leave the inner portion of the brow alone, but I'm gonna grab a little bit of this concealer and I'm gonna clean out the tail part of the brow. That's gonna help emphasize the arch. And it's gonna help with giving me that lifted look, because it's gonna make my brows look even more lifted. And here's a tip. If you dip directly onto your wand, clean your brush out on the back of your hand. It's gonna remove excess. And then I'm gonna do the same thing, but at the top, just on the outer portion of the brow, the tail part. I'm going with a finger to soften that up. And then just to kind of like comb the hair in place, I'll go in with Charlotte. This one has a little bit of a tint, so I don't want to overdo it. Just want to go very lightweight. And then I won't dip back in, and I'll do the same thing on the other side. But I love how teeny tiny this wand is. Now that we know what's going on with the eyes, we can choose a cheek shade. Is it going to be Willa or Shelly? Jo no sé. Let's go with Willa. I'm going to grab my BK brush. Look, I mean, it's beautiful. I'm going to tap into it, not out. And then I'm going to press my blush over here. If you want to give yourself a more rounded effect on your cheeks, then I would focus on my blush here. But because I want that pulled up, lifted effect, I don't want a rounded effect. I want lifted. I don't want my cheeks to look fuller. I want them to look sculpted. I would start back here, focus the blush, and then bring it forward. It's going to help with the gradients. Oh, it smells amazing. It's going to help with the gradients and the blending all at once. And you still get a little bit of a rounding, but more lifted. I avoid putting blush on my nose. It's a personal preference. I don't want that extra flushed effect on my nose. Not all the time. Very rarely do I want that. Depends on the look. Now I'm going to go into the Gerard Cosmetics Highlighter Trio palette. And I think I want to go into the center one. I am going to tap out because these are pretty intense. So I'm going to pick up, tap out, and then I will gently tap the blush where I want it. I'm not swiping because when it's a powder. So when you're swiping, sometimes it blows it out and it falls onto the rest of the face, and I don't want that. I want to press it so it'll stay exactly where I want it. See how pretty that is? You can do some on the tip of the nose if you want to emphasize the tip of your nose, and if you have a fine tipped nose. If you have a rounded off nose and you personally don't like how round your nose is, skip on highlighting the tip. Remember, highlight. It's going to highlight and create focus on that particular area. Think of you're reading a book and you're like, okay, key notes. These are things that I need to be able to find quickly. You're going to grab a highlighter and you're going to highlight those specific items or words or sections that if you're going through the book, you want to find quickly. You're going to highlight those. You're specifically looking for those. That's exactly what's going to happen wherever you apply highlighter. So when I look to the side, you're automatically going to see here and then you'll see the rest of the face. If you put it all over your nose, the first thing people are going to see is your nose. It attracts the light. So if you have a rounded off nose, you don't want to emphasize it, then skip on highlighting the nose. Feel free to go in with your finger and instead of highlighting the nose, go down the bridge of your nose and add your highlight there and or here in the center. It does a little something something without being too much. I forgot to grab a lip liner, so I just grabbed one. You guys know, like, I just have the drawer here and I have a whole bunch of them and stuff. I grabbed, what are you? This is Bel Air by Gerard Cosmetics. We're gonna line our lips with that. And then I'm gonna go in with BK Beauty's. I chose Acceptance. Apply that all over the lip. And then I'll go back in with more Bel Air to ombre that up and kind of like synchronize it all together so it looks pretty. Nice little duo. We have shopped my stash and created a look. And honestly, everything is going back in the drawers. I'm not getting rid of anything because everything was freaking fantabulous. Look at this foundation. It looks amazing. It feels great on the skin. It feels lightweight. It doesn't feel drying, but this is what I was telling you. There's always a solution to every formula, i.e. look. You would never even think that this is a foundation that could feel heavy and or drying. Do not forget to chime on in the comment section and let me know how do you think we should proceed when it comes to shopping my stash. And if you've enjoyed today's video, you feel like you've enjoyed a thing or two with my tips and tricks, I've got way more for you. I have 2 playlists I'm gonna recommend here on screen. We do makeup tutorials, we do product reviews. I give you tips and tricks as a makeup artist, so I really recommend you check those out. And I will see you guys really, really soon. Bye guys.